Anyway, so they're all shared. They have offices with their office
But I only make the joke by insinuating that I would do the joke. It's for my eyes. Because I like you, I get used to it. And I think it's small.
I'm walking every day.
Yeah. That should be in there. That should be in there. That should be in there. Because that's...
Yeah, good to see you too. Very good.
Joey hasn't said good New Year or anything. How are you, Joey?
I'm well.
You're well? You're back.
I'm back.
Another go at it, right?
You know what though?
Yep. I think there won't be any issues now that there's actual You gotta appreciate that. Much like a farmer, I can straight talk. How is the snow up there anyway?
We went way home last night at 5:30. Got to Frilton.
Yeah.
Just whiteouts. And then last night right through about 2 o'clock and home it was just blowing snow like crazy. Because with the snow belt right there, just at Frilton.
Yeah.
It's okay. We need some snow. We need some moisture.
everything that it was had been moved out. So we're looking at special. Yes, there it is. Renovations. So it's self-reduced, but I can't find my curves. And let me tell you something, that's really important. I can't find my curves. I can't find my socks. So they're either in storage or my garage, they're not in the neighborhood, they're somewhere. Joy's renovated.
Joey?
On Dad got I have someone to talk to. I sit down on TV and I'll send you and then half an hour, is there anything you want to watch? No, we're fine. We watched Ronald Reagan yesterday in the movies.
Hey, good morning, everyone. We're just beyond the time for commencement. Everybody in their seats. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'll just start with members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals in the media may also be audibly and or visually recording this meeting. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to non-audible functioning during committee meetings. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda today?
Yes, Madam Chair, through you. One delegation request from John McGrain of John McGrain Services Limited respecting a proposed sports bubble at Tim Hortons Field. That would be for the February 3rd GIC. Presentation 7.1 has been withdrawn from the agenda at the request of staff. Item 7.2 is not a change, but is on yellow before you. Added as item 8.12, report PED 16035, Small Business Enterprise Center Program Initiatives. Added as item 8.13, Light Rail Transit Subcommittee Report 15002. An added notice of motion, which has been revised since yesterday and is before you as revised. Proposed Director's Order for Barton Street Properties Hamilton on the Ontario Environmental Bill of Rights Registry number 0125624. Residual PCB pollution from U.S.-based AVX company, and one added private and confidential matter respecting a personnel matter.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Brenda Johnson, second by Councillor Robert Basuda. All in favour? Thank you, everyone. And I'm just going to turn to, good morning, Mr. Murray. Chris, you have an introduction this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce to you our new Director of Audit, Charles Brown. Charles has I know I sent out a notification to you, giving you some sense of his background, but needless to say, we're quite happy and thrilled to have him here. Aside from the requisite qualifications for the job, his background from an experience standpoint includes Director of Finance for the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, Director General Audit and Evaluation for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, Director Internal Audit for Ministry of Finance for Ontario, looking after transportation and agriculture, Head of Forensic Audit Investigations, on and on and on. This is a very seasoned veteran who has done a wide range of audit functions, more than in fact than what we typically have done. He's got experience in ethics, he's got experience in forensic audit, so he lives just outside of our community. Hopefully we can get him to come in. He's traded a 2.5-hour commute into Toronto every day for something around 40 minutes, which is, I think, from a life standpoint, probably better. Aside from his credentials and his experience, I think the thing that struck me the most about Charles was in some of the references about his ability to coach and mentor people and work with people. And so, which is more fitting with the kind of culture that we are evolving here at the City of Hamilton. So I'm very pleased, and if Charles has in mind, just a few words, and then you can get on with your business.
So good morning, everybody. I'm thank you very much for that warm introduction. I'm delighted to be here, to be working for the city. I have had the chance to go around. I've been here a week. I've had some opportunities to meet with some of you, and I will continue to do so. But I'm delighted because I've received such a warm reception from everybody. But in particular, I've taken note of the fact that everybody here has such a passion for the city, and it really invigorates me already. I've only been here a week, but I really feel like I'm on the right team, and I'm just delighted, and I actually feel very privileged to be part of the team here. So I look forward to meeting with each and every one of you and working.
Charles, thank you. And I know we will be meeting, I think, tomorrow, but yes, you are on the right team. Thank you. Now I'm going to ask, are there any declarations of interest this morning from any committee members? Seeing none, can I have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held December the 2nd, 2015? Moved by Councillor Collins, second by Councillor Green. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Then we have the delegation request from John McGrain of John McGrain Services Limited respecting a proposed sports bubble at Tim Hortons Field. This will be for the February 3rd, 2016 GIC. Committee's wish. Moved by Councillor Green, second by Mayor Eisenberger. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go on now to consent items. Before you have item 5.1, which is Business Improvement Area Advisory Committee minutes of November 10th, 2015. Questions or comments? Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Vanderbeek. All in favour? Thank you. 5.2 is Hamilton Police Services Board Monthly Report, PSB 15-135, November 19th, 2015. Questions, comments? Moved by Councillor Jackson, second by Councillor Connolly. All in favour? Thank you. Third is the Tactical Urbanism Hamilton Partnership. This is a report. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Farr, second by Councillor Partridge. All in favour? Thank you, everyone. We're going to go on to presentations. Item 7.1, as was advised by the clerk, has been withdrawn from today's meeting. 7.2 is regarding... 7.1 has been withdrawn from today's presentations today, as was advised by the clerk. We're on 7.2, and that's position vacancies within the Planning Division of the Planning and Economic Development Department. And I'm going to ask Mr. Robichaud, you're going to make presentation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present funded, and the balance of the division is funded through the levy. The positions that are shown in gray are within the development planning group, and those salaries are cost recovery through the processing of development application fee revenues. In response to the specific direction from GIC, or from the Open for Business Subcommittee, at the end of 2014, there were 13 vacancies within the planning division. The vacancies were within all three sections, and part of the reason for the vacancies in the policy group was that those positions are capital funded and were being held open based on the availability of capital funding and managing those budgets. The position in the development group have historically been held vacant in response to maintaining the development stabilization reserve. However, through the 2015 council approved budgeting process, staff in the development team group were moved off of the development stabilization reserve and put on the levy, providing a stable funding model for that group. The part of the genesis for this report related to the impacts of vacancies as it related to the development planning group. In Q2 and Q3 of 2015, there was a significant number of vacancies arose within the development planning group, and those positions that were occupied during that period of time are shown in blue. But when you consolidate those positions, basically in the Q2 and Q3 of 2015, effectively we were operating with one development team. The development planning group is comprised of technical expertise. They are the specialists, the urban designers, the cultural heritage planners, and the natural heritage planners. During this time, in 2015, the division continued to receive approximately 1,000 development applications a year, and as a result of these vacancies, we had to prioritize staff initiatives towards committee of adjustment applications, site plans, industrial commercial developments, and then other development applications as they were coming forward in order to try to meet our legislative timeframes and targets. Throughout 2015, we aggressively recruited to fill the vacancies within the planning division. There were 20 postings for a total of 28 positions to be filled. The postings are shown, the positions that were posted are shown in yellow. Each of those positions represented a staff person that had either moved or relocated to other parts within the organization. In terms of the hiring strategy, though, the initial emphasis was on hiring the senior project managers or the team leaders. We looked at filling the 2 business facilitator positions that were created through the 2015 council budget position process. The specialists that support the work of the development planning group, those were a priority for hiring, in particular the urban designers. The senior planner positions were filled, and then we also looked at and said filling planner 2 positions and planner technician positions, since they are often the frontline planners. These are involved in dealing with the committee of adjustment applications, and often these are the first points of contact with the general public. Through the hiring, at the end of the year, we were still at 13 vacancies. So despite our efforts, it seemed that sometimes we were treading water. We do find that it takes a lot of time to fill the vacancies. For each of the hiring managers, it's approximately 10 to 15 hours to spend on the hiring process, and it takes approximately 2 to 3 months. What that means is those 28 vacancies occupied approximately between 280 to 420 hours of manager staff time, or that's equivalent between 8 to 12 weeks. And most of that time fell on the manager of development planning, and the other 2 managers were providing support during that process. A combination, though, of the hiring that we have done over the last year means that we're a relatively new organization. Those positions in green represent staff that have been in their position for less than 2 years. And the yellow positions are those ones that are currently vacant and we're currently in the process of hiring for. What this means is that for the managers and the team leaders, we're focusing a lot of time on the onboarding of new staff, staff development, staff training, and ensuring that staff are successful in launching their careers with the City of Hamilton. It does sometimes take a little bit longer as we start investing in the staff at the beginning of the process, but we're starting to see dividends and paying off in the process. Human Resources is advised approximately it's 12 to 18 months for an individual once they come on board until they're fully comfortable in that position. So we're about halfway through that transition period, and we figure as we move through Q1 and Q2 of 2016, most staff will sort of be over that initial learning curve, that hump, and then there will be sort of valuable members. They're already valuable members of the team and continuing to contribute to the team. So overall, next steps, as I indicated, the number of vacancies within the planning division has not changed despite the hiring process that we've done in 2015. For the 2 new business facilitators that were created through the 2015 budget, both of those positions have been filled, although we have 2 of the business facilitators are currently off on maternity leave right now, so we're still only at 3 within that group. The 2015 hiring strategy focused on hiring the team leaders, the specialists, the planning technicians, and planner 2 positions. The internal recruitment process can create vacancies, so when we hire a senior planner, it often creates an intermediate planner vacancy, which then gets filled by a planner 2 and a planner technician. So at the end of the day, we may find that one posting can result in 3 or 4 postings, and it takes almost a year then to complete that hiring process. We also have had the situation where individuals have accepted a position, a permanent position in one team, but then they may accept a career development temporary position in another team. So even though we filled one position, it still stays vacant because of temporary positions. It's also a very time-intensive process, like I indicated. We did approximately 8 to 12 weeks of the manager's time last year was spent on their hiring process. Going forward into 2016, there will be continued emphasis on workforce retention and professional development. The onboarding and transitioning of staff is very important. Working with Human Resources, we developed an onboarding kit for all of the staff that have come to the organization, whether they're internal or external hires, and that's been very successful and staff appreciate that. We are now moving to periodic postings. We're going to be posting for both intermediate planners and entry-level planners very soon. This will be a sort of a posting where we ask people to apply. We will keep their resumes on file, and as opportunities within the organization come available, we will draw from from those resumes and call people in for interviews, and that will avoid the need to go through the process of postings and the time lost to deal with that posting. The other factor that we're moving to is generic job descriptions. Right now, within each of the sections, each job has a very unique job code and a job description. So if there's a vacancy in the development planning group, for somebody to move over from the policy group, we have to go through and post it and interview. What we'd like to do is be able to move staff across as those postings, as those vacancies come available, and eliminate the need to go through that process. It'll give staff a chance from their professional development an opportunity to move sideways, to go from development policy or from policy to development, as well as it'll make it a little bit easier for us to respond to development applications and where the needs are. We're continuing with the external recruitment. We found that using both through the municipal world, Ontario Professional Planners, CIP, and the other professional associations, we've been very successful in attracting good staff through that process. And we're going to continue also then to be promoting the department through also attending those conferences, CIP conferences or other conferences to give presentations so people understand all of the good work that's happening in Hamilton. When we ask people why did they apply to Hamilton, very often they say it's a very exciting place to work. There's a lot of good things happening here in Hamilton. They like the direction of the city, and that's why they made the application. They want to come work for the city. So we don't have a problem getting people to apply for the positions. It's just the amount of time that it takes as that to fill those positions. And then the final emphasis will be the mentoring and development of staff. Since we have a lot of new staff, we have a lot of junior staff. For some staff, it's their first planning job. We have to invest that time with staff early in the process so that they can launch their careers very successful. The second part of the report deals with the complement adjustment within the planning division. Currently, right now, there's a vacant manager position in the long-range planning group. And the intent is to take that manager's position and to downgrade it to a senior project manager that will be responsible for managing the grids update, which we have to start this year, which was approved in the 2015 council through the 2015 capital budget as we start moving forward to deal with the grids update and also to inform the LRT process. And this is in response to the provincial release of the 2041 population employment targets of the year 2013, and will implement 2006 council direction and the AEGD settlement as for 2041. This dedicated project manager will lead the public consultation process, manage consultants to retain to assist with the grids update. It will provide for interdepartmental stakeholder coordination, and it will liaise and integrate with LRT and the Alpharetta project teams, as well as the public consultation process. It's a current vacant FTE within the planning division, so there is no change in the number of FTEs. The position is currently funded through the 2015 capital funding for Grids 2, and in fact it will actually be a reduction in staff cost by approximately $10,000, and that's the second part of the recommendation. So that ends my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be more than pleased to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I do have Councillor Johnson, Brenda Johnson, wishing to ask a question.
Good morning, Steve. Happy New Year. One of the things, if you can go back to your slide go back to the last slide, right there. No, right there. So when I look at Appendix B, it looks like you have 13 total vacancies. You did talk about there's that 18-month period where some are in that 18-month period. Is that reflected in the 13 vacancies at this moment?
Those are current positions that are vacant.
Vacant.
When I thought 18 months is when somebody onboards, learning the job, learning our processes, and they're developing and they're getting comfortable in that role.
Okay, so just to understand budgeting a little bit better, so you have 13 vacant positions. In the budgeting process, is the variance shown that you have these 13 positions emptied, and therefore it's like you're banking the money until you fill those positions, or how does that work?
Through you, Madam Chairman, so in the budget, the approved budget, it assumes that all of the positions are full, all of the levy positions, and then there's the capital funded positions. And then through the annual quarterly reporting, we're either on or below sort of the target in terms of those expenditures. So in 2014, because of the number of vacancies, there was a surplus within the planning division that at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. That was my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. Steve, thank you for the timely presentation. Steve, today you're just looking for the recommendation of converting the one position, correct?
That is correct.
Steve, I know I'm not on planning, but all members of council from time to time hear from the community about yours is a very, very important division. All the divisions under General Manager Thorne have their role to play, Madam Deputy Mayor, but Steve, yours obviously in terms of the overall planning, the growth, all the policy matters that approve subdivisions, whatever the proposals are that come to us. From time to time, I'm sure many of my colleagues, I know I do, pass it on to you about the acceleration of the process and knowing that staff have to do their due diligence with every application that comes in, but sometimes we hear the concerns about the 6 months, the year and a half. Councillor, can you find out the status of where my application stands? So, Madam Deputy Mayor, I think Steve's getting the gist of what I'm asking him. How do you feel, Steve, right now? Are you clicking on all cylinders? Are you aware of these concerns out there? Do you feel you, as the leader, you got a good handle on what's happening across our city from that standpoint? Madam Deputy Mayor, through to Steve.
Through you, Madam Chairman. I think a lot of the issue, as I indicated, was last summer. We really hit a low spot, low level of staffing level, and that was affecting our ability to bring forward applications in a timely fashion. As we've been bringing on the new staff and the new hires, we're seeing that there is an improvement in the ability to deal with applications, resolve the issues, and bring them forward to committee in a timely fashion. And just looking forward into Q1 of 2016, there seems to be a fair number of new applications will be coming forward in a timely fashion in terms of dealing with that. I think the investments that Council has made in the division and the department, in both technology and in the staff resourcing, are starting to pay dividends in terms of our ability to bring forward applications. And I think, and that's going to make things a lot better. It was just last year losing the team leaders. We lost 2 senior project managers. Then there's some senior planner vacancies to other parts of the organization. That made it very difficult, so we had to put a bit of a pause on things, focus on the day-to-day urgent applications, committee of adjustment, minor variance applications, and site plans. And now we're working through that backlog, and coming forward, we should be able to deal with that. In addition, starting in the next couple of months, we'll be reporting to Planning Committee on a monthly basis on the status of all of our development applications, and that'll make it much better. And then also through the investments in technology, we're going to be ultimately make it easier for the applicants to start tracking their application to see who's commented, what are the issues, and how do we respond with them. So I'm very optimistic going forward, knowing that last year was a very difficult year for the division and the department.
Steve, that's an excellent explanation. Can I just humbly ask, has that messaging gone out? You're not beholden to anyone in the community, but in terms of those who want to provide jobs, tax assessment, proper neighborhood planning, good proposals and projects, did that messaging of the lull last year due to some departures and that, was that out there in the community? Because if it was, it wasn't maybe whispered as loudly as it could have been, just based on, again, the feedback that I got. Madam Deputy Mayor, through to Steve.
Through you, Madam Chairman. I don't think that the community was aware of that. I think through this exercise of preparing this report and then doing the analysis on the development planning group, that's when I sort of had an aha moment as to what really happened and how bad it was. We sort of knew that our staffing levels were low, but I think going forward we'll be speaking with the development community and the investors and saying this is where we were, this is where we are, and this is where we're going, so that things are getting better. And like I said, they just, their goal is to get a building permit. So the quicker we can get into a building permit, then actually sort of the proof is in the pudding from their perspective.
Good, Steve. And Steve, if I recall, long-term planning used to be under Director Bill Jansen. That's now all under you?
Through Madam Chairman, that is correct, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I also want to thank Steve, and I'm really happy to hear this directive out of Open for Business, which I'm a member of, and it's been in place for a while, and that what's coming forward as far as laying out the applications and their status going forward this year for applicants, which is a great positive step for the city. So thank you, Steve. So seeing no further questions, can I have a motion to receive the presentation? Moved by Councillor Johnson, Brenda Johnson, second by Councillor Tom Jackson. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. And may I have a mover and a seconder on the report recommendation A and B? Moved by Councillor Partridge, second by Councillor Pizzuto. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move into, we're just flying, item 8. Discussion items. 8.1 is the Capital Projects Work in Progress Subcommittee Report 15-007, November 20, 2015. Any discussion? I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Marula, second by Councillor Collins. All in favour? Thank you. Item 8.2 is Facility Naming Subcommittee Report 15-003, November 30, 2015. Any discussion? Comments, questions? Moved by Councillor Partridge, seconded by Councillor Brenda Johnson. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. And that's moving the recommendations as well. 8.3 is International Village Business Improvement Area, BIA, proposed budget and schedule of payment for 2016. Wards 2 and 3. Discussions. Councillor Farr, did you have your hand up or you're moving it? Moved by Councillor Farr, second by Councillor Green. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8.4 is the Waterdown Business Improvement Area, BIA, proposed budget and schedule of payment for 2016. Ward 15, Councillor Partridge, question, comment? Nope. Moving it. Councillor Partridge, second by Councillor Johnson. Brenda Johnson, all in favour? Thank you. 8.5, Stony Creek Business Improvement Area, proposed budget schedule payment for 2016. Moved by Councillor Connolly, second by Councillor Green. All in favor? Thank you. 8.6 is Westall Village BIA. Proposed budget and schedule. Mr. Mayor, question? They're all recommendations going forward, correct? Yes, move the recommendations and all those. That's fine. Is that okay, Madam Clerk? You got that? So moved by Mayor Eisenberger, second by Councillor Aidan Johnson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Then we're going to go on to 8.10 is Hamilton Car Share Corporate Membership. Citywide. No questions, comments? Moved by, sorry, Councillor Green, question? I've got you.
I do have a question. It's car share, something that is that extended to our offices as well? Are we able to be corporate members of car share?
Through the chair, yes, you are. Some of the councillors are members of the car share, as well as city staff. We have vehicles at City Hall, City Center. There's one at Bay and King, and one down at 330 Wentworth Street North.
That's great. Thank you very much. That's very exciting.
Thank you. No other questions or comments. So it's moved by Councillor Green, second by Councillor Farr. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8.11 is the amendment to the York Boulevard Pedestrian Bridge Agreement. Questions or comments? None. Moved by Councillor Farr, seconded by Mayor Eisenberger. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8.12 is the Small Business Enterprise Center Program Initiatives. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a mover and a seconder? Bit of a pause, moved by Mayor Eisenberger. Councillor Brenda Johnson, question?
Yep, just a question.
Thank you.
And I just briefly scanned through this, and I don't know who to ask. I guess it would be Kristen or Jason. There are here. So there's no
Kristen's here. Kristen's here. I think she's just coming in.
My only question is
There's
no financial impact on this.
Okay, so
That's all
Mr.
I wanna
Everson,
know.
can you answer that question?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, there's a positive financial impact. These are funding programs from the provincial ministry, and they're so happy with our delivery that we've been actually added a couple more programs on their behalf.
Well, I'm glad we highlighted that. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you, and I'll move it at the appropriate time.
Thank you. No further questions or comments. I think it was Councillor Farr moved it, and then I'll second Councillor Brenda Johnson. All in favor? Thank you. Item 8.13 is the Light Rail Transit Subcommittee report. Questions, comments? Seeing none, moved by Mayor Eisenberger, seconded by Councillor Tom Jackson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to go on to motions. I have 9.1. This was for Councillor Ferguson. So, Madam Clerk, should we just have somebody else move it? That's fine.
Yes.
Thank you. So Mayor Eisenberger is going to move it, and seconded by Councillor Robert Pasuta. Thank you. And this is Aritza Limited, formerly Oak Run Bakery Municipal Wastewater System motion, and it's before you. I heard some tinkling. It's a notice of motion, yes. It's a notice, but I see it moved up to a motion here. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it is a motion. Okay. So I heard some tinkling. Is there some clarification requested? Councillor Brenda Johnson.
Yeah, this is a bakery that's way out in Carluke Road West in Ancaster. It's way out in the middle of the rural area. And I just want to make a point that I can't support this. I have many residents, I have many businesses out in the rural area that are asking for sewers and water, and I simply have to say to them no. I really believe that we have residents whose hardship that their wells have gone dry, they've gone sour, their septic systems are no longer working. And Councillor Jackson knows of one of my areas. And so my concern is that if we're going to get ready for the floodgates of this president's setting, we're going to have to do these spiders everywhere, and they call them spiders when they go into the rural area. They've caused a lot of dissension between neighbors, because what happens is one half of the road will get it, the other half does not. So I'm not prepared at this point in time, and I appreciate the good councillor's goal with this. This is to help save some jobs, and I'm all over saving jobs, but I have many businesses out there right now that would love to have the same benefit as what they're asking for right now, even though they're paying for the entire thing. I simply can't support this, because I know I'm going to have many residents coming up behind me saying, what about me? So at this point in time, I cannot support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Partridge. I apologize. I heard tinkling, but it was in an echo. So go ahead, Councillor Green. Thank you, Councillor Partridge.
Thank you. My apologies. There's some questions that there's actually a really interesting history put forward on this from Hamilton Patch, which raised some questions that I'd just like to get clarification for. So this is regarding a sewer pipe into a rural business. If through you, Madam Chair, to staff, how does this align with provincial rules in our city's own official plan?
So if I can, is there someone here that can speak to this item? Mr. Thorne? And I know this is a long-standing one. We were given an updated agenda review, obviously. This is a long-standing issue in trying to resolve this with the ministry. But if you can elaborate for the colleagues here.
Within, for the right-of-way, but not a Planning Act approval.
So is this something that would, if we pass this, so I guess not having the backgrounds and some of the questions that are being brought up in the public, it gives me cause for pause as well without having a full discussion around these nuances and it going to planning in the committee there instead of GIC, where we can have the conversation and listen to delegations. And because again, I would agree with Councillor Johnson that if we do this and we use the historical context, and there are members of the public, Madam Chair, to the council members here present, you guys know there's members of the public who also have long memories, and they've been very diligent in terms of bringing up some of the issues that go back as far as 2004, and the previous motion by Councillor Ferguson's brother, Murray, at the time, very contentious issue as it's be understood based on some of the reports here. So I'm not comfortable having this come to the first GIC of the year without a discussion, and I know we've had previous conversations, Madam Chair, about trying to send motions to the appropriate committees for discussion so that we don't just use the GIC as a catch-all, and right now I feel like it's a little bit of a rush on this one in terms of not having any of the information that would allow me to have an informed decision. So I would like to recommend that it go to planning and we have the conversation and we be fully informed so that we can answer all the questions that the public has raised on this particular item.
Thank you, Councillor. So I'm just going to ask you through the clerk or to Mr. Thorne the reason that this motion is before GIC this today.
You, Madam Deputy Mayor, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me or not. This was originally a notice of motion at the last GIC. It was brought forward by Councillor Ferguson. It was on the GIC floor and it became a motion today. My apology, it should say motion in the agenda. Yeah. However, if the committee wishes to refer it to planning, they certainly...
The on-site improvements they have to make into their on-site servicing. So I don't believe there'd be an issue with a referral back to planning.
Not yet, there isn't, but I'm hearing that there may be, Mr. Sergi. So I'm just concerned because I did hear at agenda review that there were some time constraints to this. Mr. Green, Councillor Green.
Thank you. So, duly noted that, again, we've talked about the governance part of this in terms of sending these things to the proper channels, and respectfully, the councillor isn't even present today to speak to it. So that's a concern for me as a new councillor, not having the context, not hearing directly from the councillor about the time-sensitive nature of this, and I feel like it's a conversation worth having because it could set a precedent for now all of a sudden every company wanting to come in and tack into this service. So, I'm going to stand by the referral motion and at the appropriate time move it.
Okay. So I did have Councillor Partridge on the speaker's list, and then I'd like to make a comment. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So just a couple of questions so that I can put it into some context through you to, I think, Jason Thorne. What distance are we talking about here to hook up to our system? Even approximately.
Through the chairs, it's approximately 4 kilometers.
Okay, so that's quite significant, 4 kilometers. Okay. And they're going to pay for it themselves?
Through the chair, that's correct.
All right. And just for the benefit of anyone who's watching or folks that are here, is this located within a business park?
Through the chair, no, it's not.
All right. So it is a standalone business. And how many employees, roughly, approximately, are we talking?
Through the chair, 651.
Okay. So, well, thank you for being precise. 651. 650 would have been good, but could change by the end of the day, but who knows? Yes. So that's significant. But what is the urgency, if you could just, for the benefit of everyone again, what is the urgency of doing this and what are the alternatives?
Up to you.
Well, so through the chair,
Either one.
The urgency comes through, they have some issues with their on-site septic that they need to resolve. The MOE has been involved in that, and they're looking at what are some alternative servicing solutions they can do for the challenges they're having with on-site servicing. So, like I said, the urgency is not such that a couple of weeks would be an issue, but they are looking at having something resolved in the next few months.
So is this, at this present time, or certainly within the foreseeable future, going to affect their production and affect their business? Do we know that?
Through the chair, I would say potentially, yes. But I couldn't say in terms of, they do have potential planning approvals to have a larger facility if they can meet the servicing requirements. So yes, it would have a potential to impact their business.
All right, and thank you for confirming that then. So this is also tied into any expansion plans that they may want to do down the road. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that would be correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. That pretty well answers, I think, all my questions, and I think for the benefit of everybody here. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Partridge. Mayor Eisenberger.
Comment from Tony in terms of kind of the urgency on this in terms of development. I mean, if there's no urgency on delay, then is there 2 weeks? I don't think is going to matter much. Is my sense of this. So, Tony, do you want to kind of enlighten us a little bit more on that?
Through the chair to the mayor, you're 100% correct. 2 weeks is an insignificant time as a result of to deal with all these complex issues. So I fully support your direction that you're heading into.
So I'm good with that as well, Mr. Chair. I mean, I think we need to, in light of the fact the councillor isn't here, and I think it would be appropriate for him to speak to that for sure. And there may be other overriding issues that come into this, and certainly this is early, but I don't think 2 weeks is a particular issue. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's also a new owner of the former Fortman company. So I'm going to go now to Councillor Green. I think you had a referral motion.
I do, but I have a question first, because there's been talk about the timing of this and the possibility of it affecting the business. How long has this operation been in business for under the current water management systems? It's been at least 2004, but how long before that have they been using the same system?
Through the chair, Neil might be able to give a specific date, but it's a business that has grown from being extremely small scale over many years to its current size. So when it actually established as the original, I believe it was a tea room and a bakery initially.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact date of that.
At this time, then I'll move the motion that this be moved to planning for referred to planning. Thank you, Councillor Conley.
Thank you.
We're going to refer this to planning for now. Madam Deputy Mayor, would this come with a full staff presentation in terms of?
And I was going to direct that to the clerk, that we be sure that not only that it's the staff have the information, and that the councillor also attend, because he's not on planning committee. We'll have to ask Councillor Ferguson as the board does to also be in attendance. Okay, so you're sending it that. So I'll leave that with the clerk as a request to make sure. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you. So
can I just ask one thing though? It moved, seconded by Councillor Marula. Correct. Thank you. Go ahead.
So my other question was with regards to the Ministry of the Environment, because I thought I heard you say that the Ministry of the Environment has been involved in this, and I would assume it's going back to 2006 and up to present day. So what is the position of the Ministry of the Environment?
Through the chair, there is an order to actually upgrade the on-site septic, and that's why I said there is some urgency. What I can't tell you at this moment is how much time they have to deal with it. As I said, and as Tony said, it's not a matter of a couple of weeks, but where the urgency would come from is there is a need to resolve how they're going to do their on-site servicing. I just can't give you an exact date of how much time they have under the order.
Okay, thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, so I would agree with referring it to planning, but I think there needs to be a more information background, along with all the questions we've been asking, that information to come forward to the Planning Committee as well. And I'll leave that up to Deputy Mayor, I believe, was going to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's been requested of the clerk and staff. Certainly hear it here. So there is a referral motion moved by Councillor Green, second by Councillor Marula. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, everyone. We have a notice of motion before us today. It's the proposed directors, 10-1, proposed directors order, Barton Street Properties, Hamilton, Ontario Environmental Bill of Rights, EBR, registry number 012-5624, residual PCB pollution from U.S.-based AVX company. Councillor Merla, did you wish to introduce your notice of motion? And are you leaving it as a notice of motion?
No, actually, I'm attempting to waive the rules accordingly. There is some time sensitivity to it.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll move to waive the rules first then. I'll present the notice of motion and so I'll move that.
Okay, move by yourself.
Yes. Okay, and then now I'll move to waive the rules to introduce the motion.
Seconded by Councillor Collins. Yeah. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
Now, moving on, we have the motion before me, by myself, seconded by Councillor Collins, whereas the properties on Barton Street East, Hamilton, who are noted in the proposed director's EBR order, are not the business who created or left behind the PCB contaminants found on those lands, but were residual contaminants created by U.S.-based AVX Corporation, whereas the U.S.-based AVX Corporation has neither made any attempt to remediate contamination from those lands nor taken any corporate responsibility, whereas subsequent property owners are not responsible or to blame for the contamination left behind by the previous business owner, whereas the proposed order would be detrimental to the economic development of brownfield lands in Hamilton or any other Ontario community, and whereas Ontario, other municipalities, and the subsequent owners of the affected properties are asking for the order to be reconsidered, attached hereto as appendices A and B. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor correspond on behalf of Hamilton City Council with the Honourable Glenn Murray, Minister of Environment and Climate Change, to urge the MOECC to use all available authority and resources to require AVX Corporation to remediate the PCB contaminants that were left behind by it at its sole expense and in a manner satisfactory to the MOECC, and that B, that a copy of the letter along with a copy of the correspondence from County of Essex be copied to Premier Kathleen Wynne, the Association, and Warden Tom Bain, County of Essex, and Coca-Cola, Union Gas, and those are properties. So, in summary, as people know, based on the reported issue on Barton Strathern, there are three entities, Union Gas, Rosart Properties, and Coca-Cola, who have been functioning viable businesses or operations there for decades. In 1995, it was determined, 25 years after the purchase, it was determined that there was some PCB contamination. And doing so, since that time, although we as a council weren't aware of it, there was discussion with all of the entities, and Union Gas, Rosar Properties, and Coca-Cola were incredibly responsible corporate citizens in taking up the cause themselves. Although they did not in any way contribute to the pollution, they did have it tested and did take action at their own expense to mitigate those particular problems. And in saying that, most recently, because of the fact that AVX Corporation, who uprooted their entire Canadian operation and went back to their home base in the States, are a viable company. They had sites in the United States where they contaminated similarly, that they cleaned up at their own expense, but they're turning a blind eye to Hamilton and to Canada by extension. So the legislation clearly states that polluter pays, but in that particular case, normally under these circumstances, you have a situation where 50 years down the road, the corporate entity doesn't exist, no longer viable, there's no one to go after, hence the existing owners would take the sole brunt of the cost. But in this particular case, the distinction is really simple. They are a viable entity, but they're only operating in the U.S., and they've cleaned up the U.S. sites that they contaminated, but they have no intention to even returning a phone call to the Ministry of Environment. And the rub of all is that we all talk about global economies, we talk about the NAFTA agreement and the sharing or the fact that they're our largest partner. So you would think that if the economy itself is economy, and they are our largest trading partner, that there would be some sort of understanding on both sides of this equation that those that pollute would be held accountable. So, and this, in essence, can protect the Americans as well, in the sense that if we have a Canadian company that follows suit, I presume the same could be said that the Canadian company could literally just walk away and never be held accountable accordingly. So it's really important that we set a precedent on this. The existing corporate entities, and that being Rosart, Coca-Cola, and Union Gas, again, great corporate citizens, have done their part. All they're asking for is that their city council ask the province to be as aggressive as possible in going after those that actually contributed to the pollution. And they're not whining about their part in all of this. They're not complaining about the cost in all of this per se, but they do want the province, and they do want the city to simply act as a conduit to the province to advocate their cause so that the actual polluters themselves, AVX, be held responsible accordingly. So if I can leave that with you, I think, and I want to thank the mayor's office as well, who's been involved with this for some time, and thank him for the support and his engagement with Union Gas and other parties. And I also want to emphasize that precedent in all of this, and it's a key part of all this, because a lot of concerns surrounding this is that if we buy a property today, is everyone going to come to City Council and ask for the same type of advocacy? The distinction in this is that it predates all environmental regulations. We're talking 1970 and before. So in essence, if anyone's purchasing a property today, the process of due diligence expected through soil testing, particularly demanded by the mortgagors, is quite significant. So that due diligence exists today. It never existed in the past. And as a direct result of that distinction, we need to look at focusing in on this issue as Rosart, Coca-Cola, and Union Gas being the victims of this as much as the environment and the city of Hamilton. And I thank you for your time.
Very well stated, Councillor Marula. Thank you very much. So are there any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, moved again by Councillor Marula, second by Councillor Connolly. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to move on. Now we have under item 11, general information, other business. I have, we dealt with that tactical urbanism Hamilton partnership, item 5.3 today. I'm going to ask that a motion be put forward to remove the item from the outstanding business list. Moved by Councillor Brenda Johnson, second by Councillor Aidan Johnson. All in favour? Thank you. And now I have private and confidential. 12.1 is closed session minutes of December the 2nd, 2015. May I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes? Moved by Councillor Partridge, second by Councillor Vanderbeek. All in favour? Thank you, everyone. Then we have a motion to move into closed session respecting item 12.2 in regard to a personnel matter pursuant to section 8.1 subsection B of the city's procedural bylaw 14-300 and section 239 bracket 2 and subsection B of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual including city employees. Moved by, did you want to question first? Okay, we'll deal with that when we come out of camera then, Councillor. We'll keep the process going on this now. So, moved to go in camera, moved by Councillor Brenda Johnson, second by Councillor Robert Pasuta. All in favour? And I'm going to ask now that the public and any staff who are not required to be in this closed session meeting, please exit the chambers, taking all of your personal belongings with you. And members of the public will be invited to return to hear any further deliberations upon committee reconvening in open session. Thank you, everyone.